War Author's Notes. This story is not suited for kids and contains references to blood and gore. It is based on role play in DayZ and is considered fan fiction. Chapter 1. So where do I start? Peter thinks to himself for a moment before starting to write. It seems not even my so-called friends within the denizens do not trust me anymore. They refuse to tell me where our new base is and that we are nomadic. Nomadic, my ass. Well, two can play that game. I got a nice cabin here. As a matter of fact, it is where I write this book. At least I got to torture and kill one of those SGRU knuckleheads here. He wanted my gun, as always, and was dumb enough to ask me for it while I was holding it. No one will get my fall ever again. Peter looks at the half-naked Russian on the floor, and an evil grin spreads on his face. I should have gagged him instead of outright killing him when he became noisy. I wonder if all these Ruskies scream like little girls when you cut them. Peter looks at his handiwork for a while, admiring the skinning work on his chest and thighs and the bullet hole in his foot. It's too bad this was only some low-ranking guy. At least, I think it was not too sure about the Russian rank system. Anyway, if you find this cabin, you will be happy it contains every military weapon I stole from those Russians. I would say about 200 guns. And if you find this house, there are 3 graves to the north of it, with 3 backpacks containing ammo for said guns. But to be honest, I don't think anyone will ever find this cabin unless someone is as lucky as I was. There is no road leading here. Anyway, I got some more killing to do, and I guess those Ruskies want their boy back. He seems to have a name tag on his shirt. I believe it's short for his rank and his name, Yuri Turkskovich. Peter stuffs the book under the pillow on his bed before gathering his stuff and reloads the missing bullet in his FN file. As he leaves, he grabs the soldier by the leg and drags him behind him. He walks toward the closest road and carries him the last bit so as not to mess up the terrain. After a short walk down the road, he can see his Olga stuff the body in the trunk and drives away toward Novi Sobor. Before entering Novi Sobor, he stops the car and looks around with his night vision goggles. He opens the trunk, picks up the body, drops it next to the road, and drives away. That should be close enough for them to find him, Peter thinks to himself. Chapter 2. Apart from a few distant gunshots, the airfield has been quiet, and Peter slowly starts to move toward the big building, where he sees some men with red berets enter. As he is about to leave the cover of the forest, he listens for a moment, but can only hear the wind. He quietly moves up toward one of the larger buildings, and as he gets closer, he can hear voices from the inside. Suddenly, he hears someone standing upright next to the window, and Peter quickly pulls out his knife and covers the man's mouth as he cuts his throat hard enough to feel the blade scraping at the bones of his neck. He carefully pulls the body out of the open window and onto the ground. That was lucky, he thinks to himself as he brings out a small hatchet and separates the head from the body. He picks up the head by the hair and looks for the name tag on the shirt before moving toward the other side of the house. You were the lucky one, Pyotr Jawiski. Way too painless for the likes of you, he thinks to himself. After being extra careful this time, he sticks the head on an old fence pole and drops the prepared note on the ground below, saying, 2 down, many more to go. You guys make this way too easy. Peter then quickly and quietly moves away toward the forest and waits. It doesn't take long before he hears the commotion outside, and he just wishes he understood Russian. He can see people frantically moving around, but Peter trusts in the ghillie he acquired from one of the barracks. As the men start to calm down and disappear, Peter moves deeper into the forest toward his car. After about 20 minutes, he arrives at his car and removes the camo net from it before taking off his ghillie and stuffing it in the backpack in the back seat. He sits in his car, brings out his book, and starts to write. Well, it did not go as planned, but I'm sure I got them angry enough. At least I still have my frag. It might come in handy someday. I just wanted to make sure most of them suffer before dying. It can't be too quick. No, not too fast. I want to hear them scream. Peter starts his car and can't help but grin as he drives off, thinking what to do with these Russians. Chapter 3. Peter sits silently in his car in one of the long, abandoned summer camps, thinking for a moment, and does not notice the young girl slowly making her way toward him. Hello? She says in a low, trying tone, still a good distance from Peter. Peter looks up, slightly startled, and sees her. Hi there, he says in the most friendly voice he can muster. considering he was just thinking of what to do with the rest of the Russians. I did not expect to see anyone here, he continues as he steps out of the car. She backs away slightly as she notices how tall Peter is compared to her. I'm sorry, I did not mean to scare you. I'm Peter, he says and gives her a friendly smile. When she is not talking, he continues, So, what's your name? I best keep that to myself for now. People tend to not like me. Well, you have done nothing to me, so I have no reason not to like you. She smiles at Peter and hesitates for a moment. Well, let's get to know each other a bit better, and maybe you will see I'm not a bad guy. Peter walks past her and gives her the benefit of the doubt as he stands with his back toward her and starts to pump water from the well into his canteen. So, what brings you here? She asks. Well, I have a wolf that doesn't like cars, so I left him here. You have a wolf, Lampon? Yes, I have had him since I was forced to kill his mother. She was planning to have me for dinner. Oh, that's a sad story. Well, maybe if you're lucky, you get to see him. He is usually close by, he says as he turns around and can see she is sitting on the stairs to one of the cabins. He won't bite me, right? Nah, he is what I call a normal wolf. He is most likely more afraid of you than you are of him. She smiles again. Talk of him, and he will arrive, Peter says as he sees the not fully grown wolf slowly making its way out of the woods in between the two cabins. Peter stretches out his hand toward the wolf, and it walks up to him. He licks his hand and sits down next to him. Peter is not sure if she is amazed by the sight of a wolf or afraid, but he is sure his wolf knows and gently pets it. He knows you're afraid of him. That's why he is not walking over to you right now. He is beautiful, she says. After a short while, the wolf gets to his feet and slowly makes his way over to her. She looks at the wolf, who seems to be a bit calmer now, and tries to pet him as he smells her. Let him get to know you first, Peter says in a calm voice. She looks at Peter and moves her hand back. I guess I must trust someone, and you seem nice. I'm Penny. Well, you have not done anything severe enough for me to have heard of you, Peter says with a smile. Do you know Faye? She asks. Yeah, I have met her once or twice. Well, she is the closest thing to a mother I have. She looks at the wolf as it pushes its head against her hand, wanting a pet. Now that's something I don't see every day. He likes you, Peter says with a smile. She smiles back at Peter and gently scratches the wolf between its ears. Well, I know where Faye is if you wish to meet her. No, she would kill me. Peter is almost surprised by her outburst. Now, why would she kill you? Because I ran away from the slavers she sold me to. I had to. They left me all alone with nothing to eat. Peter looks at the wolf as he sniffs the air and walks away. Well, your secret is safe with me, but for now I have to leave and talk to some of my other friends. Can I come with you? I don't think that's a good idea. Faye has been seen a lot up in the north, but I'll come back and talk to you. Just stay close. I will, and thank you for being so friendly and for meeting your wolf. He might show up again. Just be careful with him, especially when I'm not here, Peter says as he walks over to his car and sits down. As Peter drives away, he starts to think about Faye. He stops the car out of eyesight and makes a quick note in his journal. She seems to be exactly the right kind of girl for me to help out with the Russians. I wonder what her take is on torture and making them suffer. I probably have to give her that girl Penny to do whatever she likes with to gain her trust. Chapter 4. A short drive later. Peter is back at Riffy, but to his surprise, it is empty. He slowly steps out of the car, walks over to one of the freight wine containers, sits down, and starts writing. Well, this is the only place I have seen her at. I guess I'll just wait. So now, when I kill 2 of those Russians, I'm sure they will be on their toes. I guess I will have to be more careful now. But my primary goal must be to make them suffer as much as possible for what they have done. Nothing can take precedence from that goal. Peter slowly places the book next to him as he hears footsteps on the gravel. He slowly stands up and places his hand on his FNX 45 before stepping out. Hello there, Peter says, looking at a middle-aged man. The man spins around, and even though Peter is not much longer than the man in front of him, he still steps back slightly. I'm sorry, I did not mean to scare you, Peter continues. No worries, I did not expect anyone to be here, the man answers with a northern accent. Well, I'm looking for someone named Faye, and speaking of names, I'm Peter. I'm Eddie, and yes, I have seen her up north. I did not get any good vibes from her, so I left. Oh, did she threaten you? No, no, just the way she was talking and playing with those pliers. Well, I need to find her. Can you give me anything else about her? Well, not from her, but her boyfriend. Hutch, I believe she called him and said something about Lopatino. Maybe it's where they are going. Thank you so much for the help. I need to get going, but do you need anything before I go? Just some food if you got some to spare. Sure, he says. Just wait a moment. Peter walks back into the container, picks up his book, places it in his backpack, and takes out 2 cans of spaghetti. He walks out and hands the 2 cans to Eddie. I'm sorry I can't stay and talk some more, but it is of utmost importance that I find Faye. I hope you understand. It's okay, thank you for the food. Peter jumps into the car and throws the backpack in the back seat before starting the engine and starts backing away. As he drives, he starts to think about why Faye and Hutch are so close to where the Russians are usually located. As he passes through Svetlogorsk, he feels an urgent need to hurry up. He steps on the Bauhin, passes Novodmitrovsk at close to 190 kilometers/hour before slowing down as the car starts to swerve to Shkamim. Just outside of Severgrad, he stops by a fuel station since his car is far into the red marking and starts to work to refuel it. Hello there, a female voice can be heard. Peter looks up, immediately recognizing the voice as Faye, and next to her stands Hutch. Hello, Faye. I'm glad to have found you. Well, you might have seen me earlier if you had not been driving at warp speed. Well, I heard you two were in Lopatino. So why are you looking for me? Well, if you are up to it, I need your help, and for payment, I will tell you the location of a certain Penny. I see, and should I know this Penny? Well, considering what she told me and what you did, I'm sure you know her and will enjoy the work you will help me with. So what does this work entail? That is something I wish to speak with you in private about. Chapter 5. As the 3 of them get into Peter's car, Faye starts to talk. Really, all of them? That's one hell of a vendetta. Peter looks past Faye as he drives out on the road, not saying anything. I'm not even sure we can kill them all, let alone capture and torture them, she continues. Don't worry about it. I will teach you both all you need to know and the mistakes that they keep on making. Sometimes I wonder if they really are military. So how do we do this then? Faye asks. We scout them out and look for a smaller group, maybe 2 or 3. I'm not sure how good shots you two are, but I can hit them from 200 meters away in the leg. Now, if any of you two can do that, it would be a bonus to have 2 shooters and 1 bait. So why don't we all just stay at range and go to them when they get disabled? Hutch asks. Someone needs to prevent them from calling for backup. Makes sense, Faye mumbles. Well, I cannot guarantee that I won't kill them. But with a proper scope, I can most likely hit them in the leg from 200, Hutch says. I guess that leaves me as bait then, Faye concludes. Well, I know one patrol route that they usually walk between Northwest Air Base VMC and Zelene. They are usually 2, but sometimes 3. Now, if there are more, we will call for you to hide, Peter says as he looks at Faye. All right, let's go and have some fun. Well, most of the fun will be after we capture them, she says with a grin and plays with her pliers. After a pretty long detour, Peter stops the car in the woods close to Rogovo. This is where we part ways, Faye. You need to go here, and I and Hutch will be here. Oh, and walk like this if it is 2 or 3 of them. If more, hide here, Peter says as he points to the map. Well, all I have to say is, don't fucking hit me, she says, looking at Hutch. Here, take this, Peter says, handing Hutch a package in a VSD. The package is a ghillie suit, and if Faye is in any trouble, you shoot to kill. You don't have to tell me that twice, Hutch answers, as he inspects the gun. Peter picks up another ghillie suit and his FAL. Where did you find all this? When you have been here for close to 3 years, you tend to find a lot of stuff. The 2 of them walk away, and it seems to Hutch that Peter knows this area a lot better than he does. You know this place well, he says in a low tone. Yeah, I have been planning this for a long time, Peter answers as he stops and lies down. Hutch does the same thing and follows Peter in a low crawl up a small slope, and all of a sudden they can see a dirt road and a low crawl over it, and shortly thereafter they can see VMC Hill. Faye should be over there if she understood me right, Peter says as he points, and the patrol usually comes on the right-hand side of the hill. Now make sure they are completely stationary, both of them, before we shoot. Don't worry about me, Peter. This is not my first rodeo. I'm sorry I do not know you that well, but I take your word for it. After a few minutes, 3 men come past the hill. Damn, it's 3 of them. Okay, I take the right man and you take the left and we kill the third one, Peter says, sounding disappointed. After a while, Faye comes out of the small patch of bushes and trees and plays it as if she doesn't notice the men as she fiddles with her belt. Good show, Peter mumbles, as he aims at the right-hand man. The 3 men stop at Faye, and the man in the group, who is in the center, turns around to look for people behind them. 3, 2, or 1, Peter counts, and both of them fire almost at the same time. Before the third guy has the time to turn around fully, both of them kill him. Faye is on all 4, ripping the radios and guns from the 2 screaming men before they cover their mouths and drag them away. Chapter 6. After the 3 of them had dragged the 2 Russians into a small house far to the northwest, close to Lopatino Castle, Hutch started to speak. Well, I'm sure I know what you 2 will do to these men, so I'm going to wait outside for now. I think that's for the best, Faye answers, grinning at the 2 men on the floor, who both look defiantly back at her. As Hutch walks away, he shivers slightly as he hears the first terrifying screams from the 2 men inside, and some part of him wonders what Faye and Peter do to them and if he wants to know. So this can end quickly if you just tell me where your main base is? Peter asks again, looking at the man he has started to flaying, and then over to the other man that Faye seems to have her fun with. I swear we don't have a base, the man says, looking up at Peter with nothing but true fear in his eyes. You're lying to me. How can a big group of people operate without a base? Peter says, knowing the man is telling the truth. He just wants an excuse to keep harming him. Maybe we should go outside and let them think about their next answer. This one is unconscious, anyways, Faye says. Yeah, I'm growing tired of hearing these lies, Peter answers and starts to walk out. Maybe they are telling the truth, and they don't have a base, Faye says as the 2 of them are out of ear's reach of the house. They don't have a base. I just want to hurt them, Peter says. A wicked smile spreads across Faye's face. I know I did meet you only 2 times before this, but you really did not seem like this kind of person, especially since you were a part of the denizens. But I like what you are. Well, I could say the same, but after what I did see in there, you seem to have more experience than me. Oh, just a tiny bit, she says with a grin. After a short walk, the 2 of them find Hutch. I hope you 2 are having fun, he says with a grin on his face. Oh yeah, we have a lot of fun, Faye answers with a grin. Well, I think we are done with these 2 soon. I just need to write a note for the Ruskies to find when they find their bodies, Peter says. Oh, do we need to kill them already? Faye says with a bit of a sad face. Don't worry, there are more of them, Peter answers with an evil smile. As the 2 of them walk back, Peter walks over to his car, grabs a loose paper and a pen, and starts writing. These 2 screamed louder than anyone I met before they screamed like little kids and revealed all their secrets. Is this really what the Russian army is made of? No wonder you guys are losing every endeavor you try to accomplish. Faye smiles as she reads what Peter just wrote. She can't help but smile when she thinks of what the Russians will say. Peter walks into the house and, without hesitation, grabs a nail and nails the note into the chest bone of one of the captives. He loses consciousness immediately from the pain and dies as the nail penetrates his heart. Faye makes quick work with the other guy. Peter looks through their clothing and soon finds the name tags on their undershirts. Seskov Sasevich and Mikhail Pryaptor. What are you looking for? Faye asks. All of them seem to have a name tag on their shirts. It's a good way to keep count of how many that are dead, Peter says as he writes down their names in his book. The 2 of them drag the corpses out to the car, and Hutch comes over and helps them get the bodies into the trunk. The 3 drive away, and in a wicked way, Peter feels really happy about his deeds and finding his 2 new friends. Chapter 7. The 5 men walk down the road leading into Cabanino and stop at the large villa next to the city well, and for a moment the sight is almost unreal as they stare at the 2 men who have been nailed to the wall. After a short moment that might have felt like an eternity for them, one of them barks out an order in Russian. Secure the area. 3 of the men spread out on the outside of the wall, while the last two walk inside the wall and take a closer look at the two men. I know these men. The left one is Private Seskov Sasevich, and the right one is Mikhail Prioptor. I don't know his rank. How can a single man capture and do this to two of our men? I don't think he was alone. Look at their wounds. This one is skinned alive, and this one seems to have different wounds. Some sort of a tool, maybe, he says as he rips the note off the chest of one of them and starts to read. Dmitri, what does it say? He asks as he can see the facial expression on his superior officer change. You better read it yourself, Ryzak, he says as he waves one of the men over. Get these men down from here, Dmitri says with a voice cold as ice. Yes, comrade. The man answers and calls for one of his friends. We need to report this in. There is a radio here we can use, Ryzak says in a low tone. No, this incident will only be known within the SGRU, Dmitri answers. You know the acts of revenge against us are all our fault, right? We cannot continue to shoot people for more or less survival, and not to mention those we outright tortured by breaking their legs. Among other things I'm not even going to mention here. You have your orders. This doesn't leave SGRU. Have I made myself understood, Sergeant? Ryzak stays completely quiet and just looks at Dmitri. No, you can't just sweep this under the rug. If nothing else, we need backup, he says as he starts to walk into the house. Before he enters, a bullet flies right past him and slams into the door. Are you crazy? He almost shouts at his superior as the last of his men comes around the wall. Sir, is everything okay? He asks. Yes, we are fine. Help your comrades with the bodies. The sergeant and I need to talk, Dmitri says as he starts to walk over to Ryzak, and the two of them enter the house. Chapter 8. After dropping Hutch and Faye close to the location where he met Penny, he starts to drive back to Kabanino. He hides the car not too far from there, gets into his gill, starts to move to his overwatch position, and lies down in the grass, slightly covered by a bush. As he lies there, he starts to think back to the time when he met Caitlin, Kenny, and the others, wondering if they knew all the time what kind of man he was or became. His vision becomes blurred as his eyes fill with tears. Did all of you know? He asks in a murmur. Of course we did. Caitlin's voice is so real to Peter that he almost starts to look around for her. Why are you doing this, Peter? You could jeopardize all of our lives doing so. No, only my life, he mumbles to himself. So we don't matter to you? It is for you I'm doing this. The voice stops as he can see movement down by the house where they left the corpses. He brings up his rifle and starts to look at the 5 men spreading out. 2 of them walk up to the corpses and seem to be talking. Peter slowly puts his finger inside the trigger guard without realizing it. He almost pulls the trigger before realizing what he is about to do, and he breathes out as he moves his finger. No, you're not escaping this world that easy, he mumbles to himself. He tries to read what they are saying on their lips, but the fact that they stand almost entirely back toward him makes it impossible. They are probably speaking Russian anyways, he thinks to himself, slightly irritated. As one of the men is about to enter the house, Peter is surprised to see the other man shooting his gun right next to him. I believe we have a case of trouble in paradise, Peter mumbles to himself, smiling slightly. Maybe he is more willing to give us some information. As the men walk away with the corpses, Peter starts to move back to his car. Chapter 9. Before the end. It is too many of them to make them all suffer. They will adapt and maybe kill me, Faye, and Hutch before we can finish our task. Peter looks up from his book for a moment as he finishes writing. I heard her voice, and I thought I might be going crazy. She can't talk to me anymore. I need to come to peace with that fact. I should tell myself when I hear any of their voice that they are too far away for me to hear them. Peter stoves away his journal and starts the engine. He slowly starts to drive back to Hutch and Faye to pick them up, and continues to think of what he did see back there. Could he be angry enough to switch sides? To maybe help us? No, don't think like that. Peter slams his fist into the steering wheel of his car in anger. He must suffer like all of his friends. Peter pushes the gas to the bottom and again smiles as the car roars to life and speeds up to over 100. After a while, he arrives and Hutch and Faye stand under the roof of the bus stop. As he stops, Faye jumps in the front seat and Hutch in the back. I hope you two had some quality time with Penny, Peter says with a smile. Yes, I believe I showed her the error of her ways. Faye answers with her usual grin. Well, I have done some thinking myself after seeing them over at our nicely produced artwork. Faye looks at Peter, waiting for him to continue. So we have killed 5 of them. Well, 2 was when I was alone, but that doesn't matter. When they arrived, it was a small group of 5 more. So that makes it 10 of them. What's the problem? Faye asks. Well, consider this the number of guns and ammo they confiscated. They must have a base or several, and I'm sure at that base they will have guards. Also, I'm sure there is not only one group walking around. So in the best of worlds, there are 15 more of the 2 groups of 5 patrolling and 5 at their base guarding. I see your point, Peter, and I smell a change of plans, Hutch says in a low tone from the back seat, almost sounding disappointed. Well, yes, we need to find that base, and I believe I know where it is. You do? Faye sounds surprised. Well, it is a qualified guess, but I believe it's Gulag. Gulag, the prison? Faye says, it strangely makes sense. Like hiding in plain sight, Hutch says. Well, I thought so too. Like it's the only location confirmed to be under Russian control. How about Northwest Air Base? Granted, I have seen Russians there, but I have searched that place with a magnifying glass and not found anything that shows someone lives there, Peter answers as he starts the engine. Besides, I don't think they got the manpower to control such a large area. Anyways, I have not been to the prison aisle for a while, so let's head over there and see if we can see anything from the mainland. After a short detour, they stop the car in the forest and cover it with a camo net. I'm sorry to say I only have 2 gill suits, so would you mind being the obvious one and standing down on the road here and looking toward the prison aisle with some binos? Me and Hutch will be here close to the lighthouse, Peter says as he points to a map. If you see anyone driving over with a boat, just move into the forest here and go toward the car. Oh, and don't get captured. Me captured? Don't make me laugh, Faye says with a grin. Okay, then let's go, Peter says as he pulls out the 2 ghillie suits and gives one to Hutch. After a short walk, the 2 of them arrive at the edge of the forest and lie down. Peter brings out a slightly larger gun with a larger scope and loads it up with a magazine that seems larger than the standard 308 for the FAL. That's a nice Savari, Hutch says, eyeing the weapon. Thank you, Peter says, before starting to look for Faye and spots her. Faye is in position, Peter says as he starts to scan the prison with his rifle. I suggest you keep an eye on Faye in case she gets into trouble. Well, I can see movement in the windows, but I cannot make out guards or prisoners. Well, it would make sense for the prisoners to be in their cells, Hutch mumbles. Yeah, but I've never been over there, so I don't know what rooms are prison cells and what's just normal rooms. Well, time is up. Faye must have seen something. She is on the move. Okay, let's move out, Peter says as he starts to move backward flat on his belly. As they arrive back at the car, Faye is already there. So what did you see? She asks. A lot of movement, but I'm not sure if it was prisoners I did see or Russians. Well, I can tell you this, they have a maximum of 5 prisoners, so the rest would be Russians. Okay, that's good to know, so we might be only facing 15 of them, Peter says as he starts to think. I'm sure we can find some people to help us out who dislike the Russians as much as us, but I'm not sure about the torture part. Well, I and Hutch have a few friends. We call ourselves Ultimatum. Sure, let's start there. The 3 of them jump into the car and drive away. Chapter 10. The End. Peter sits in the small camp, listening to Faye and Hutch as they speak to their small group. They are afraid, he thinks to himself, as he hears what they are saying. Who would not be? They got so much to lose, and I lost all that matters, so I got nothing to lose. As Peter stands up, all of them go quiet. He looks at each of them in turn before starting to speak. They are trained soldiers. I know it is scary, but something I think is scarier is the fact that trained soldiers and no government people will run this country. Our daughters, sons, and loved ones will live here under this tyranny. He walks up and stands right next to Hutch and Faye, giving the group a butter look before speaking again. How many here have kids or someone they love? If not all of you raise their hand, I will call you a liar. He stops talking and waits and looks at the first man raising his hand, and soon everyone else follows suit. What's your name? I'm Maxim Kuznetsov. So, who do you love the most? Alia Potolov Kuznetsov, my wife, Boris and Denise Kuznetsov, my two sons. Well, here is a sad story for you that happened to me because I reacted too late. All my friends and the woman I loved and pledged my life to protect died due to these Russians. Some of you might even have received help from these wonderful people, and I'm sure you all have heard about the denizens. He looks around in silence for a moment and notices most people discreetly nod. So I'm asking you all now, if not for the former members of the denizens or me, then for your loved ones, please help us get rid of these people from South Zagoria for good. I'll be over by the car if anyone want to speak to me or just agree to help. Peter walks over to the car, sits on the hood, and looks at the people in front of him as they start to talk to each other. As he suspects, the first man to walk over to him is Maxim. The two men look at each other, not saying a word as he, too, turns around to face the rest of the people who have gone completely quiet. I don't know what is to discuss. We all have loved ones we care about, so let's help them before it is too late. They look at Maxim for a moment, and it is long enough to make Peter believe they won't help but smile as the group walks over to him. First of all, I'm no strategist, so if anyone here has anything to say about my strategy, please speak up. Anyways, this is my plan. First of all, I hope you all can swim because we do not have a boat, and it would make us too big of a target. I have noticed some rock formations here and a crashed ship here. He points to the map and explains, now time is of the essence. We need to get over to those rocks in the cover of darkness and try to be on the isle as the sun rises because after that swim, you will be cold and you don't want to sit around waiting. Peter looks around for any questions before he continues. Once on the isle, we will move it like this. He drags the finger on the northern part of the isle and along the bridge. This is the point of no return. We will surely be discovered here. Now don't aim. Just fire as you run toward the main building and shoot to kill anything that has a weapon in their hand. Hold on a moment. We should have people checking our back to this early in the morning. I'm sure there will be enemies in the barracks, here and here. That's a good call, Mr. Gareth. Thank you, Gareth. So we need to have at least 3 preventing anyone from coming up behind us, Peter says as he looks at what guns the people in front of him have. I would suggest you and you stay here. Just keep separated in case they decide to use grenades or something similar. I have a few grenades that should clear the passageway here, Gareth says as he points at the map. I guess you have been in there? I don't know the layout of the prison, Peter says as he looks at the map. Yeah, I have been in there. Enough said about that. Well, I don't think any more planning will help. It will just make it more complicated. Let's get some rest and talk to your loved ones. If you get them close, we will leave in a few hours. As the darkness falls and the people finish checking their gear, Peter walks over to Hutch and Faye. He looks at the two of them before he says just 2 words that come to mind. Thank you. For some reason, it feels like this will be the last chance he gets to say this. Okay, let's move out, he says as he picks up his backpack and starts walking. After a pretty long walk, all of them stand in the tree line, hunkered down. Peter looks at the pocket watch, which shows 5 a.m., and silently waves them all to follow him to the water. Without hesitation, Peter walks in and starts to swim. As he reaches the shore, he looks to the east and can see the sky getting slightly brighter. He starts to move according to plan. Behind him comes Faye and Hutch next to him as they reach the bridge and slowly make their way up. Everyone stops in their footsteps as they can hear steps on the bridge, and it seems like everyone is holding their breath. Suddenly, Hutch jumps up and grabs the man, pulls him down, and, in a smooth move, cuts his throat before he can even make a sound. Peter carefully looks up to see if he can see someone, but when the coast is clear, he moves over the road, taking cover next to a low stone wall, and the rest follows. As all of them are gathered, he continues to move toward the building, and as expected, guns start to blast, and Peter can hear the familiar sound of bullet cracks. Gareth stands right next to him, holding a grenade, and Peter nods as he makes a small crack in the door and throws it in. The boom is almost deafening, even though Peter covers his ears. He shakes his head slightly before raising his gun and walks in, almost stumbling over the first corpse in the darkness, but pushes on behind Gareth and Hutch. Damn, So many doors, he whispers to Gareth as he catches up. Don't worry, I'll stay behind and cover this exit. Peter raises his Wolf AR again and takes the door to the left. By pure reflex, Peter shoots the guy standing a few meters from him. As they move forward, Hutch looks up the stairs to their left and directs one of his friends with hand signals to guard as they continue to move in. As they turn around the corner to the right, Peter immediately spots a guy in heavy armor and quickly pulls back as he starts to shoot. Shit, he got Ratnik and a machine gun. Peter takes one of his smokes, unpins it, and rolls it around the corner. As the smoke fills the corridor, he leans out and empties the entire magazine from his Wolf AR. And as he does, Faye Hutch and three more do the same. Shortly after, they can hear a thump and the clatter of a gun falling on the floor. As they continue to move, gunfire can be heard from the outside and also from the corridor. Peter can't help but look over his shoulder, wanting to turn around and help them. Don't worry about them. They can handle themselves. I know. It's just in my nature to help, he mumbles back. The small group continues to walk, checking every room along the way, and after a short while ends up in the large yard behind the main prison building. As Peter starts to look around from his cover carefully, a single bang from a gun can be heard, and the bullet hits the stone wall high over his head. With no hesitation, he rushes out and takes cover again as more gunfire can be heard, and the all too familiar bullet cracks can be heard. Everything at this point seems to go in slow motion as he sees a guy running past the windows. And even today, Peter is not sure if he is aiming or not as he fires, and the guy almost looks as if he stumbles on something and falls to the ground. After a few seconds, Peter notices the silence and looks behind him to make sure Hutch and Faye are still there. Peter looks at Hutch, almost not believing what he sees as he walks over to him. It's over. We got 2 captures, Hutch says in a low tone. Without saying anything, Peter stands up and starts to walk back. As they come out on the bridge, Peter can see the 2 captives. One is the officer he did see and now recognizes. So Dimitri, some turn of events we got here, I hope. Your campaign here was worth it. Without waiting for an answer, he looks over at the girl next to him. So who might you be then? Private Second Class Alexandra Konstantinovich. Well, I got some good news and some bad ones for you. Even if you were going to survive beyond this day, I doubt you would ever be more than a private second class in the Russian army. Do whatever you want with them. I'm done with these Russians, Peter says as he looks over the bridge and notices all the corpses. Wait, let this one survive, he says, pointing at the girl. Go home to Russia and tell your superiors what happened here, and if it happens again, they know what to expect. How will I get to Russia from here? Walk, that's what I did. It only did take me about 2 years. A few hours later, Peter looks at the all too familiar sight of Riffy and starts to walk toward the woods to the west, closely followed by his wolf. As he kneels in front of some graves, his wolf walks away, almost like it knows he wishes to be alone. Well, I'm done, even though I might have gone a bit too far with some of them. He brushes away some imaginary dirt from the rough blank stone that doesn't even have a name on it. I'm sorry for this burial site, but at least you all are home now. He pulls out his .45 and looks at it for a long while. Well, like I said, I'm done here. He raises his gun, puts it against his head, and closes his eyes. Mother, Father, I'm coming home too. The end.